Before we get into today's video, I do want to say it's really awesome when you have a friend who makes really awesome playmats. We actually have 3 of them. You can see their names on the screen. Their links are down below. Go check them out. You won't regret it. And if you're looking for an amazing place to play in one of the best tournaments available, come check out the DCS 3. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we will live stream it on our channel. So make sure you check those things out and enjoy your video. What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So episode 3 of How to Beat, and today we are covering the 3rd best deck, and that is Eldlich. So I have them as my number 3 behind Dragon Link and Dinosaur. Both of them we already covered, so go check them out if you would like. We will briefly talk about Zulich, Invoked Eldlich, things like that. The main focus of this video will be on the Eldlich portion. We are going to be doing a pure Zodiac, so you'll see which cards in the Zodiac archetype can get hit there, but we will briefly talk about it here as well. So what makes Eldlich so good? Well, they pair up with Zodiac, they pair up with Invoke, they can be splashed into Cyber Dragons of all things. Like, Eldlich is pretty splashable and really easy to be abused. So that's one big thing. The fact that they can play under cards like Imperial Order, they can play under skill drain because they don't need effects on the field. Eldlich can boost himself to 3,500 from the grave by adding to the hand. All the cards just float. The recursion of this deck is insane. So it's got a lot of really good things going for it. It's a very grindy deck that can actually hit pretty hard once in a while as well. So what are we going to hand trap in Eldlich? Well, Ash Blossom, I mean, you can hit Eldland. I really like saving Ash Blossom for Sanguine on my turn, because the best way to stop Eldlich is don't let Golden Lord hit the field. Don't let Golden Lord stay on the field, things like that. So Ash, you can hit the Eldland, you can hit the Sanguine, and those are going to be your best hits. I'm pretty impartial to hitting Sanguine. Ghost Bell, same thing. You could hit Eldlich to keep it in the graveyard, or you can hit Sanguine once again because the option is there from deck or graveyard. So you can Ash it or you can Bell it. Now, if we're playing against like Zulich, I'm still more focused on stopping Eldlich portion, so I'd save the Ash for the Sanguine. Same with the Bell. You could always hit the Barrage with Ash. You could hit I forget the XCs that summons from the graveyard with Bell. So you can still hit them. Invoked portion, you're not going to be able to Ash the Sanguine unless you have another form of disruption. So you may have to use the Ash on the Alistair or the Meltdown, and likewise Bell on the Invocation to keep it from banishing the Alistair out of the graveyard. Because if you don't do this and that's your only form of disruption and they use Sanguine on your turn, well, they're just going to use Macabre to negate your hand trap anyway. So you force the negate, but now you're still playing through the Eldlich part, whereas you could have just prevented it from hitting the field, left them in a worse setup, and once again been playing through just the Eldlich part. Skullmeister. So this card's actually really, really good because everything activates in the graveyard pretty much. All their float effects activate in the graveyard. They banish for cost, so you cannot Ghost Spell them. Meister can stop all of these effects, so Skullmeister is very effective. Gamma. Pure Eldlich, there's not a whole lot to hit. You can hit Golden Lord to not get one of your cards sent from your field to the grave, or you can Gamma to keep it in the graveyard once again. Crow, get it out of the graveyard, banish it. They can't really recur it back, so getting rid of that Eldlich, very, very strong. And likewise, Gamma on the Alistair if they're playing the Invoked engine, because once again, Macabre will negate the Gamma. So you Gamma the Alistair, and it's actually really good because Gamma stays on the field, so even if they have the Invocation, they'd have to use like their own Golden Lord from their hand to make the Macabre. DD Crow, you could hit like not chained to the Invocation, because then they're just going to use its effect to fetch the Alistair back. You'd have to do it kind of like at the resolution, well, I guess right when they summon the Almirage, or they probably go into the Artemis, the Link one that just came out in Genesis Impact. So as soon as they go into that, you DD Crow the Alistair. So now if they don't have one in hand, they can't even activate the Invocation, and it's dead in their hand. Droll and Lockbird. Not very good at all, and this is why I would not main Droll and Lockbird. Lancia can be pretty good. If they're playing the pot cards, obviously it stops that. Like if you use it prior to their pot, because banishes are costs, so you can't stop that if they activate it. Otherwise, you stop all the floating effects for one turn. You can really hinder them for one turn, but you gotta have plays and have something to come back with and to establish your board presence, because they are very, very recursive. So Lancia will definitely buy you some time, and like a well-timed Lancia, if they'll like commit to their board and like Golden Lord send a card, and start loading up the graveyard, because they're going to get it all back anyway and get the big 35, 38 Golden Lord on the field. Like mid combo, then you can drop Lancia on them once they're already committed, and now they're not going to be able to end on hardly anything, so that's pretty good. Nibiru, just like Droll, it's pretty much dead versus pure Eldlich. Zulich, I think they usually, they'll typically go into Trident in three summons, or 4 if they're not going to summon Golden Lord on your turn or on their first turn. So they go into Trident by summon 4 and then just set up their Sanguine and plays like that. So once again, Nibiru, kind of like Droll, really not that great regardless of what variant, because even against the invoked variant, they're going to have Makaba before you can Nibiru them anyway. So Droll and Nibiru really not good versus, well, for the most part, any of the variants. If you went first, Nibiru might be decent, because if they're going to try and push for the OTK, go into their Zeus, things like that, you can hit Zulich then with the Nibiru. But overall, Droll and Nibiru just really not that great versus any variant of, well, I shouldn't say any, they're super splashable, remember? Anywho, going second cards. What going second cards can we play? Because Eldlich likes to go first. Well, once again, Pankratops makes the list. This card is really, really strong. That's why it's at 1. Likewise, Red Reboot. It's a trap deck. Shouldn't be too surprised to see Red Reboot here. Evenly matched. They recur everything because they can banish from the graveyard during the end phase on their turn. Things like this, things like that, your turn. Evenly matched, banishing everything face down really hurts, because they can't just keep recycling and reusing and getting things back that way. So evenly matched, really, really, really strong. Otherwise, Hey Trunade, Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twisters, Lightning Storm, all these back row removal cards are also really good. Versus them, I like Hey Trunade for the reason that it bounces everything to the hand, or it forces them to just start activating all their effects. Either they burn through everything and they get no disruption, or they just let it resolve and they go back to hand, and once again, they don't have much for disruption. Cosmic Cyclone banishing, it's really strong. Lightning Storm, it's popping all their back row, or like Hey Trunade, doing essentially the same thing, except Lightning Storm, they're going to be able to activate all their cards in the end phase, whereas Hey Trunade, they will not, because they either go to the hand or they chain them, and then they go to the grave later in the turn after you destroy them, and then you establish your negates in your presence, and they won't be able to chain them or use them because you'll just negate them. So ideally, that would be how those two would interact between Lightning Storm and Hey Trunade. Twin Twisters is just a cheapish option, but Cosmic Cyclone is way better as a cheap option. So, I mean, Hey Trunade is also dirt cheap. I'd play either one of them before Twin Twisters. If it's invoked, if it's Zulich, if it's things like that, then you start to get into the more generic cards like the Droplet, the Dark Ruler No More, and different cards like that, which, again, we're not showing it necessarily on the screen because there's so many decks that Eldlich can fit into that I could sit here for 3 hours talking about the different cards to counter all the different variants. So, I mean, take it as you will. Are they using, are they summoning Dragoon? Are they summoning Zeus, Trident, things like that? Play cards to counter them while also keeping this bit of information in your mind on how to stop the actual Eldlich part. If you decide to go first time, I mean, your deck's going to do what it does, so that's a big thing. Going first, there's going to be a lot of cards. This one's I left kind of blankish because, I mean, strictly versus the Eldlich part, you still have your Cosmic Cyclone, your Twin Twister, your quick plays, your heavy Storm Dusters like to just force them to burn through their resources. Like they get it set, you pop it, they have to reset it again, and they're just burning through their resources. So you got those types of cards. Different Dimension Ground turns off Golden Lord in the hand, and it just makes it like kind of awkward for them because they can't really have access to it, so they're gonna have to kind of pass their turn. Ice Dragon's Prison is a great way to get Golden Lord out of their graveyard and back to your field. They probably won't have a zombie, and like they probably really not likely to have 2 Golden Lords, so I mean, you're not going to be able to banish them, but it's possible like late game, grind game, which isn't really going first, which we're talking about here. But Silent Graveyard is incredible card versus them. You know, it's like 5-cent card. If you're looking for a super, super cheap staple that is amazing going first versus virtually the entire meta, Silent Graveyard is your card. Basically Abyss Dweller for decks that cannot make Abyss Dweller. Like, it's crazy strong right now. Comment down below, what other cards are you playing to combat Eldlich going first? And once again, Zulich, Invoked, like now you're going to start to get into cards like Different Dimension Ground is going to be great versus like Zulich, obviously, because you completely shut down the Zodiac part. It's going to shut down the fusion part of Invoked Eldlich. So there's definitely going to be other cards with these other variants, but as far as strictly Eldlich went, there's not a whole lot that jumps off the page to me that is meta relevant. Like there's going to be all kinds of niche cards that you could say, oh, this works, this works, this works, but I wanted to kind of keep it to, you know, 4 to 6 cards that are actually meta relevant, so that way maybe you are already playing them and they hit other decks as well. So these are just a few of the examples we have. Like I said, let me know down below which ones you are playing, because I know there's a lot more and I am very curious to see which ones you are playing. Thanks for watching, guys. I know, like I said, we focused way more on the Eldlich part. Hopefully we filled you in a little bit, like with Invoked, with Zoo, verse, you know, Dragoon Eldlich, Ash the Red Eyes fusion. I guess that's kind of where you got to hit them. So, you know, Kaiju the Dragoon, things like that. But that's not really how to beat Eldlich. That's how to out Dragoon, which a lot of us know already. Talents, Droplet, Dark Ruler no more, Kaijus, Lava Golem. You know, like there's lots of ways to out it at this point in time. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you check out those links down below if you paid attention to the beginning of the video. The Dragon Rider Championship Series 3 is going to be a ton of fun. We streamed the second one. It was like 7-8 hours we hung out on stream, had like 20 people at one point, so that was really awesome for the first time ever streaming. Hopefully we can hit 30 people at one point. That's our goal this time. I have 30 viewers at one point, so we'll see if we can do that. But thanks for watching, guys. Check those out, and until next time.